Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the first webinar in our Customer Case Study series. We're excited to be sharing with you today a recent implementation at Srixon Cleveland Golf with supply planning and global order promising in Oracle's Order Management Cloud. Presenting for you today are Kevin Martin, VP of Sales at AVATA, Sanjay Agrawal, VP of Operations at AVATA, Matt Johnson, Senior Director of Supply Chain Product Strategy from Oracle, Charles Chamberlain, Director of IT at Srixon Cleveland Golf, and Cody Goudreau on the operations team at Srixon Cleveland Golf. Just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. All attendees will be muted throughout the presentation, which is being recorded and will be made available to you in our follow-up email. We encourage you to submit any questions that you might have through the webinar side panel throughout the presentation, and we will reserve some time at the end for question and answers. So now I'm going to turn it over to Kevin to get us started.
Thank you, Deborah, for the introduction. As mentioned, I'm Kevin Martin, Vice President of Sales and Solutions for AVATA, and I've been involved with Srixon Cleveland Golf from the very beginning. I was excited to hear about this webinar. It shows the power of the cloud and the deep uses and benefits customers can quickly gain from the integration of the applications. Today, we will cover several things. We're going to do a brief introduction of AVATA. Then we're going to move into the Oracle Global Order Promising overview from Matt Johnson at Oracle. And then Cleveland Golf, both Charles and Cody will get on to talk about their story that happened at Cleveland Golf, the challenges in their supply chain, why they decided to move to the Oracle Cloud, and talk about the after story, the benefits achieved, and what they're doing today. Finally, at the end of that, we will cover a few brief summary points, and then we'll move into a brief Q&A with Sanjay Agrawal from AVATA as well. Okay, so AVATA is a full-service consultancy firm specialized in Oracle software and cloud applications. We do full ERP, meaning financials, manufacturing, inventory, procurement, etc. We also focus on enterprise performance management, or EPM, in the cloud, and all aspects of supply chain management, or SCM, in the cloud as well. We will work with our clients on any additional PaaS services during our implementations that we do, and also offer managed services after the fact, after we do implementations, to help augment any support efforts or training efforts after the actual implementation goes live. We have several areas that we focus on during our implementations. Both we look at overall solutions with the clients, where we look for industry solutions or solutions in the supply chain that can be integrated to both the ERP or other aspects using not only Oracle tools, but like in the examples of Cleveland Golf, they have a ERP that is a JD Edwards backbone. So we'll do some integration aspects of that. We will do management consulting services as well. And as you'll see, when we do some summary aspects, we do assessments on cloud services, as well as kind of help companies understand what strategies they need to use to move to the cloud and other aspects in their overall solutions that we're being provided. All of our implementations and managed services include some aspect of educational and training components to make sure that when we leave, you're up and running and using the cloud applications fully, and your team is able to kind of do this on their own. So what separates AVATA from other partners that are working with Oracle? We recognize that one of the first and foremost things is our people. It's our deep expertise in the industry knowledge, and this comes from our people, where a bulk of the consultants that we use with AVATA are coming from industry. We've been in your shoes before. We've performed planning. We've been in the demand planning aspects of things. We've used the Oracle applications, and we're very familiar with what it takes not only to use the actual application itself, but understand what kind of things you're trying to gain from using the applications and streamline the processes that are happening in your company. We also recognize that future success of AVATA is hinged on your success, the customer success, and we look for events like this webinar where we can share with others directly, another customer, the solutions that we've provided and what benefits they've achieved, so you can look and see what they've gained and how similar it is to your product, as well as kind of look at what AVATA has done from a solution aspect on integrating multiple applications together to make it a very successful implementation. We look at our overall strategy. We look at how we've done the integration. We look and see where Oracle's going in the future with cloud. And we understand that all these things come together to not only look at the uniqueness of the client that we're working with, but our solutions that we're bringing to the table. And that's really where we get our tagline, where strategy meets execution. And finally, it's our solutions. We look at business processes, our technology aspects, both integration and other components that we might be looking at, and bringing in industry solutions that we've brought in from working with many, many other clients over the past 20 years of our history to create a solution that works best for your model. Okay, and as mentioned, this project included supply planning as well as integration with GOP. And so at this point, for more details on the Order Management Cloud components, I'd like to introduce Matt Johnson from Oracle Product Development to review the Oracle Management Cloud and the GOP portion that it brings to the table.
Thanks, Kevin. So at Oracle, we've been really excited to work with Srixon, Cleveland Golf, and AVATA on this project. And it's been especially gratifying as someone who manages the roadmap for global order promising to see how Srixon Cleveland Golf has taken real advantage of the features that we've developed in our cloud-based global order promising solution. So what I'd like to do at this point is to take a few minutes to just bring people up to speed on what global order promising includes, and also to highlight a few of those features that Srixon Cleveland Golf took advantage of. So first of all, Supply Chain Management Cloud does have a comprehensive order to cash solution, and it includes order capture, product configuration, pricing, promising, execution, and analytics. So it's quite a mouthful, but order promising is right at the center of the process, and it's really a key component of that order to cash process. It matches the demands from incoming orders with available supply, and it calculates promised delivery dates based upon procurement, production, transit, and processing lead times. So global order promising can do that to increase your customer satisfaction by improving the accuracy of promised order delivery dates. And Srixon Cleveland Golf is a great example of a company that's been able to do this. It can also prevent disappointment by avoiding promising goods that really aren't available right now. And then best of all, it can enhance your company's profitability by being smart about how it chooses that source, finding that lowest cost source to fulfill any given order. So let's take a look a little deeper at how that happens. So the global order promising works really closely with the Order Management Cloud execution layer to check availability for items as customers are shopping, and then to schedule delivery once they place their orders. So global order promising, it presents a consolidated view of the supply across all potential sources. So you might have on hand, you might have incoming deliveries, and you might have upstream supplies like supplier capacity, or even planned orders from a supply plan that you haven't already released. And so you can look at all of those supply sources and the ones that haven't already been taken by other orders and make them available to your customers to provide an accurate delivery date. So now, how does it work? Well, first, global order promising identifies the best source of supply to fill each order line. And it does that by checking that availability for each source using sourcing rules that you've set up. And then it selects the one with the lowest total cost that meets the customer's delivery requirements. We always prioritize the customer's need over other factors. Next, global order promising schedules the order. It reserves supply and capacity as needed, pegging it when appropriate to the internal transfer orders or manufacturing work orders or purchase orders that could fulfill that demand. And then scheduling handles complex fulfillment scenarios such as configured order items like Srixon Cleveland Golf's custom golf club line, or drop shipments from an upstream contract manufacturer directly to your customer, and sourcing that might depend on the customer's zone or region where they are getting the most local source. And then finally, the solution can manage the order backlog if demand outstrips supply. And you can select, prioritize, and reschedule orders to expedite critical customer demands in the context of that overall backlog. And then you can allocate scarce supply so it can be used and assigned just to the right customers for those hot items that you might have. So let's look at those capabilities, especially again, focusing in each of those steps, identifying the best source of supply and scheduling complex fulfillment and managing the backlog in light of Srixon Cleveland Gulf's implementation. So to maximize availability, you can look at all these sources of supply, and because Srixon Cleveland Gulf implemented supply planning, they not only can just look at what components they have on hand that they could assemble together to a product, but they can also look at what they're planning to develop in the future. And they can look at all kinds of other in-transit and upstream supplies. But as they do so, global order promising is looking at the overall capacities of each stage of the process and the calendars for production and transportation and receiving at the customer site in order to create the most accurate dates. And they're including the transit and processing times at each stage, again, to make those dates as precise as possible. So the next thing in scheduling complex fulfillment is that the feature where Srixon Cleveland Gulf has really focused is promising configure to order items. So this is a set of features that are, I think, very advanced within our order promising solution. So configure to order items are ones in which you might have an overall model, such as a golf club, a customizable golf club, and then you have a large number of potential options. And then, depending upon which options the customer selects, you may have different availability scenarios. In fact, you might have different constraints on where a set of options could be produced or delivered to fulfill that customer order. And so what we do with our CTO features within Global Order Promising is share component supply across multiple models. Then we can set option-specific lead times for each option in the bill of materials. We can restrict sourcing based upon the options that are selected. And then if you happen to already have some stock around that matches the customer's ordered configuration, we'll find it and we'll use it rather than generating a new order for production or purchase to fulfill it. So this is a really nice combination of features to fulfill their CTO requirements. And then finally, anticipating and managing the order backlog. So if you're fortunate enough to have a great product like Srixon Cleveland Gulf has, occasionally that popularity will lead to demand and supply imbalances. And now it's a matter of arbitrating among those orders to see who gets the first supply. And that can be a tough job. So what we've done is developed a facility here that provides you an overview of your backlog, gives you sort of a general sense of what the days of delay and which demand lines are affected and the total value of delay that you have. And then lets you drill down to look at the individual order lines that are being delayed and to reschedule them. So this gives you some control and can help in dealing with those kinds of issues. What's more, if you go to the next feature, we can simulate demands for orders that haven't even been placed. So you can set up all of the attributes that are associated with an order, enter it into the order promising backlog, and then simulate the fulfillment to see what the effect on other orders would be of delivery dates if you took that big order for 500 clubs. And while you couldn't schedule this simulated order, you could now provide a very accurate assessment back to the sales organization or the customer of what they can expect if they did place that order. So this is another set of features that can help. So I just wanted to highlight those, and now I will turn it over to our main feature with Charles to tell us about how they really took advantage of this.
Okay, thank you, Matt. So, Srixon Cleveland Golf, we're one of the world's leading manufacturers in golf equipment. We're based in Huntington Beach, California, where I have to say there's not a cloud in the sky today. And if you watch the Open today, you'll see several of our players competing for the Open Championship. So in the late 1980s, about the time I joined the company, we gained a significant success on the tour with our products, including the 588 wedge, which to this day remains one of the best-selling clubs of all time. Finally, Cleveland Golf is owned by Sumitomo Rubber Industries. We have corporate headquarters in Japan with sales affiliates around the world and 26 worldwide distributors.
And today, Srixon Cleveland Golf has three main brands. Srixon is geared more towards the top-of-the-line athlete tour players. Cleveland Golf is more for the recreational golfer, and Zexio is more for the player looking to gain back swing speed and enjoy the game a little bit more. We are definitely best known for our wedges. Many tour players play those, as well as gaining popularity on our golf balls as well in the Srixon line.
Okay, let's talk about the cloud and GOP. So prior to Planning Central and GOP, we completed a lengthy WMS implementation, followed by a ERP infrastructure change to JD Edwards E1 at the end of September of 2017. The improvement left us with an action list of necessary supply chain improvements. For instance, we could not promise dates effectively and consistently. We lacked the ability to provide those clean dates, which hurt our customer experience. Without having available to promise dates that we could rely upon, it was tough to satisfy our customers. Finally, the complexities of our custom clubs, with planning increasing the demand, required GOP type functionality. And give you a little background on the way we configure clubs. Our custom clubs, we use a configurator that's based in E1. And basically, we start with a head, go through custom specs. You can bend the club, you can have different shafts, you can have different grips, you can have wraps on the grip. And I think we have maybe 20-ish segments for our custom clubs. And we have many parts that we have to be able to promise. And customer service needs to know, do we have the head, do we have the shaft, and do we have the grip? And that's where GOP came in. So we could move on to why we moved to the cloud. So during our upgrade from JD Edwards World to E1, we decided to move a significant portion of our network to Velocity's private cloud. Many factors went into that decision: hardware, cost, maintenance, upgrades, backups, disaster recovery were key. We were also going to need additional employee resources, CNC, database admin, etc., with a new operating system that we had no experience with. By moving to the cloud, we were able to rapidly deploy these resources, and 3 years later, I could tell you it was the correct decision. When GOP for the cloud came along, it was just a natural decision where a cloud-based solution was already comfortable for my infrastructure. We chose Oracle Cloud and GOP because it offered a breadth of features not available in our JD Edwards environment. We understood that we were forging a new path. Selecting AVATA allowed us to know we were with a partner who was dedicated to success and providing solutions for our customers. Cloud provided the scalability and robustness that we required for future growth. And additional modules like cloud order management will provide the best interface and dashboarding capabilities. Finally, cloud will allow us to stay up to date with the latest features, tools, as they are added to the software.
In moving to the cloud, the strategy that we used for implementation, first we moved the initial planning environment to Planning Central or Oracle Cloud Supply Planning. And then from there, once we were comfortable with the planning side of things, we started to build out our CTP and ATP logic, the ability to promise the GOP logic for all the different products that we offer. And kind of as Charles touched on, there's a lot of different options with all the custom clubs that we provide. So we had to make sure that we had the right assignments of those rules. So we're promising customers the correct dates based on the options available. And then for future evolution of the cloud, we're looking at bringing on order management and then also developing more of our allocation basis for key customers and also custom components. That way we can assure particular customers that we have inventory on hand to meet their demands as we grow the business in key segments. And finally, that allows us to raise the level of service that we provide to both end consumers and key accounts for our business. One thing that we've really used GOP for on the operations side is now that we have accurate dates when products are going to be available, it allows us to better plan our operations side so we can minimize upticks and downturns on the shipping side, on the production side, and better fill those gaps to keep a consistent workday on all aspects of operations. That way we can help absorb those one-off opportunity buys and things that kind of get thrown at us time to time. So we have a better ability to react with maintaining a consistent operating level.
Okay, so this is the integration data flow. Notice that all integration processes are going through the E-Link platform. First on the data, the demand calls from JDE to GOP to retrieve dates. Second, our periodic data collections. We have a nightly process system of data collection and data updates every 20 minutes. And our third link, when we receive release plan orders from Planning Central to E1, this replaces our MRP messages within E1. So within Planning Central, we're striving to totally eliminate the need to use MRP.
And then now we'd like to talk about the after benefits and kind of what we've achieved after implementing GOP and Planning Central. Once we started getting all the planning done through Planning Central and the supply cloud planning, we were able to gain visibility to planned work that wasn't visible before in our previous system. Within 3 months of go live, our improved numbers for meeting our original promise dates to customers improved by 81.5%. This past month for June, the current number is at 89.3% of on-time shipments. And also with GOP, we are able to accurately provide promise dates to customers for their custom clubs, which is one of the biggest things that we had a problem with before. And they are seeing the reliability of those dates that we provide. They're commenting, their feedback is definitely improving in that aspect. And that's definitely a huge part of their experience, knowing that when we give them a date when something's going to be available, it is. And that's huge for us because that's where we were lacking before. Also, it allows us to better peg orders to purchase orders and work orders. So if something happens to be delayed, we can proactively reach out to customers and let them know that there is going to be a delay based on a purchase order that's being received late or whatever the circumstance is. And we've also learned about our procedures and where the issues that we've had in regards to the dates that the system's outputting, so we can streamline processes and make the turnaround time faster for customers. So I'd say finally, with all the benefits that we've received, us meeting our on-time goals for what we promise customers, that's been the biggest, but they've been all throughout the company. It helps us improve our processes as well as schedule opportunity buys and check the availability of things that sales wants to do ahead of time to make them more successful than if they try to sell something that we don't have. And now we'd like to hand it back over to AVATA.
Great. Thanks, Charles and Cody, for the Cleveland Golf story. It sounds like improvements continue to be made. Hearing the 89.3% improvement, I was clapping out loud, but my phone was muted. Now, a couple final thoughts on the project. As Charles mentioned, the project started actually originally with a call to Cleveland Golf from AVATA to understand their needs and challenges and any requirements that they were having for doing a GOP and committing their orders. AVATA initially held a discovery and readiness call with them, and we followed this with an in-depth plan to achieve the overall desired results. This morphed into a new project for doing the actual implementation of supply planning and GOP Cloud. If you're interested in doing the same, please reach out to AVATA, any one of us at AVATA, for doing that cloud readiness consultation, where we can walk you through readiness assessments for both cloud ERP and cloud supply chain planning, either in the demand space, supply space, or as this project shows, in the GOP and order management cloud space. Okay, so to summarize, just a few final thoughts to go through. Using Oracle Supply Planning Cloud Solution, it enables companies to create the best view of supply in the future in order to effectively release orders against, these being purchase orders or work orders, and commit sales orders too. So what Cleveland Golf did was they basically took the results of a cloud supply chain plan that was created in the cloud, and they're able to now commit those orders against it, continuing to use their J.D. Edwards order entry system to promise against orders that are now planned out in the future with cloud supply planning. Also, using AVATA's quick integration tools and expertise in supply chain management, it allowed for a rapid return. Cleveland Golf was able to achieve this in 3 months, a rapid return on investment, and improve those metric results to management, which is always important when you're looking at an investment like this, to go back to management and say, here's what we achieved and here's what we're continuing to improve on as we enable the solution. And then finally, Order Management Cloud and its GOP functionality improves that perfect order commit and reduces ongoing manual management of order and supply chain changes. What we saw with Cleveland Golf was there was a lot of manual intervention going on in managing an order once it was committed that continually touched that order and moving it back and forth and around. And this was a lot of perturbation that was being communicated to the customers, and that was something that was greatly improved throughout this entire project. Okay, so at this point, we'd like to open it up for questions from the audience. As Deborah mentioned at the beginning, please use the panel on the side to enter any questions that you might have, and we'll point it over to the appropriate person to answer.
All right, team, I'm seeing a couple of questions on the panel on the side. But first of all, before we ask the question, a quick introduction about me. My name is Sanjay Agarwal, and I work at AVATA as VP on the delivery side. I've been in supply chain space in Oracle domain for about 20 years. And then a few questions that I'm seeing. First question that I am seeing here is around, can cloud GOP be implemented standalone? Probably Matt, if you can field that question.
Sure, Sanjay. So technically, yes, you can implement global order promising without any other applications. And as you've seen, in fact, Srixon Cleveland Golf has implemented global order promising with J.D. Edwards order management, but they also implemented our cloud-based planning solutions. However, just it's worth noting that starting last month, Oracle has now simplified the packaging of our cloud-based solutions so that global order promising is now part of Oracle Order Management Cloud. So when you buy a solution, if you don't already have it, you'll actually get both order management and global order processing, but you don't actually have to implement the order management part if you don't want to. So that hopefully answers the question.
Yep, thank you, Matt. There is one more question around product, so maybe I can ask that as well to you. Can you please highlight some of the upcoming new features on Cloud GOP?
Sure. We're always making incremental enhancements to the product based upon feedback from customers like Srixon Cleveland Golf. So for example, when now in the future upcoming release, if you manually override either the shipment date or the delivery date in the system, it will automatically update the other dates for you based upon all your lead time and other calculations, calendars and so forth. You'll also be able to add post-processing lead time to manufactured items to account for curing, quality testing, or any other steps in your process that aren't directly reflected in the manufacturing lead times that we already take into account. But meanwhile, we're also working on bigger breakthroughs. And so you might have heard about from when I presented the backlog management features that we already have in global order promising, but we're making major enhancements to that arena that will actually be delivered as part of our supply planning cloud. And so with this new backlog management capability, you'll be able to set up not just straightforward prioritization rules like when something was ordered or when it was promised, but all kinds of combinations of things like prioritize in the order of the revenue of the order or based upon key customers or lots of other criteria, the demand class that they belong to. And then you can simulate different fulfillment scenarios that maximize either your customer service, basically minimizing delays, or maybe maximize revenue within the quarter or margin. So it's a much more sophisticated way of dealing with backlog. And, it complements global order promising by working across the whole backlog at the time rather than just individual orders as they arrive. So GOP gives you the chance to give an accurate date right when the order is placed. But now if you get later on and you need to reschedule based upon changes in your supply picture, you can look at your whole backlog and figure out the best way to decide who gets what when.
That's awesome, Matt. That's a big functionality from a backlog management perspective. I think the market is keenly watching that functionality to come through. So thank you for highlighting that. There is one question, probably Charles or Cody, maybe you can field it. What was the timeline for the Planning Central and GOP project from an implementation standpoint? The time frame it took.
Okay, so we officially launched our project in June of 2018. We went live with Planning Central first, and that was in September. And we went live just before the new year with global order promising. All that happened in 2018.
Okay, awesome. So basically 3 months for Planning Central and about 5-6 months for the entire project.
For the entire project, yes.
All right, fantastic. All right, that's awesome. There's one more question, Charles and Cody, for you. What were some of the key obstacles or challenges that you faced during the implementation of GOP? If you can highlight a few.
So we have two questions. So we have an IT perspective and an operations perspective. So from the IT perspective, really the biggest challenge was just aligning the way our category codes and how we looked at an item, how that translated into Planning Central and GOP. So we always thought, and we know we have really good category codes, but when you're slicing and dicing and introducing new terminologies and ways of processing, it just created a minor challenge in the process that was easily overcomable. And then in operations, Cody?
From an operations perspective, I would say that the most difficult was probably fine-tuning all of the logic for the ATP and CTP rules that we were to implement for the wide variety of products that we have, depending on what we make, what we only get components for, what we can also get finished goods for, and all the different options that we have for custom clubs. It's just trying to make sure that everybody was in agreement of the timeframes for all the different materials that are needed for each of the different items. from just a planning side to a warehouse operations side, just fine-tuning all that logic for all the different types of items, I would say was probably the most difficult, just because it was what required the most input from all different sides of the company.
Yeah. So two things that I gathered. So one of the things is the master data was the key. The categories that was touched upon by Charles, and in line with that, fine tuning of the ATP rules was the key, I guess. So yeah, from a GOP perspective, it's pretty important to fine tune it from an ATP rule perspective. So yeah, thank you for providing an answer to that. Thank you. So Deb, I'm seeing only those questions as of now. Any of the attendees, if you have any other question, you can send us an email and we can field the question and send a response to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sanjay. And special thanks again to Kevin, Matt, Charles, and Cody for your presentations today. Here's just a look at some of our upcoming webinars. Our next webinar will be an on-demand webinar that will take a look at the best use cases and the differences between Planning Central, Supply Planning, and Demand Management Cloud. And then we will be presenting another AVATA Academy workshop to help users understand why and how to create new forecast profiles in Demand Management Cloud. And then in October, we will be discussing cloud roadmap assessments as the first step toward improving supply chain performance. You can register for all of those webinars on our website, and we'll also be sending you the links in the follow-up email. And as always, we invite you to contact us via email or visit our website and follow us on social media to learn more. Thanks again for joining us today, and have a pleasant day.